In Brightspace, there's a number of different ways that you can create content. So in your site, there'll be a navigation bar, which will be at the top of the site. We've renamed ours or rebranded our content area as My Digital Binder. You'll have a content icon that's available to you. So you would click the content icon, and it'll go into a folder area. This is sort of like your Google Drive inside Brightspace. And on the left are your folders, so to speak, your main folders. And that's the way I always try to explain this, is that these are folders that can be populated with a variety of different content, very similar to your Google Drive or your OneDrive, except that you have OneDrive and Google Drive within this area. So if I were to make a new unit, which could be construed as a folder, so let's say I was just making a folder area called resources. I could then populate it with a number of different resources I have. So I have to unhide it. If you look, I'm unhiding it, which will make it visible. You can keep it hidden. I hit save, and now I have a folder. And so what that allows me to do now is I click on the folder, and I could create a new subfolder. So let's say I want to create subfolders. I would create new lesson, as it's called. So this could be a subfolder for English. And I could create a subfolder for math, etc., etc., etc. So now I'll click on English, so to speak, and I'll add or create new potential subfolder if I want. And I could add a number of different pieces of content. But let's go back. Before I do that, I want to show you some of the main linkages that you can utilize here. So I could go add existing, which allows me now to add content from Google Drive. So let's say I have great math resources that are deep in my Google Drive. I like using it here because it's a really fast way for kids to get to content. I'll show you what I mean. So let's say I have some worksheets that I want them to do. So let's say this is one. And that becomes part of my content. And I could add all of my, say, English resources inside this space and have the ability now to access this content and quickly go from worksheet to worksheet. So I could add another one, add existing. I'll go to Google Drive. And let's get different piece of content now. Let's go with this one. So now I've got another Google Drive sheet inside this folder. Again, pretend it's English resources. And I can quickly access this content now. It's directly in here. And I can go back and forth quickly from my Google Drive. And it's no longer buried in my Google Drive. It's in an area. And it so allows me to, organize a pile of different content. I could add existing from OneDrive. So maybe I have a PowerPoint file. And again, sometimes you have to link it up in OneDrive, but it'll take you directly in. So if I wanted to get content from OneDrive, I could add, say, a PowerPoint presentation, hit select, and now that content is also built in to this content area. So it allows me to use both Google and Microsoft in an area in order to get my content quickly.